Well, I would like to start with introducing Alistair King, sitting next to me. He's the global brand director for Wargaming. And
this is Ronaldo Andrioli, who's the general manager of Wargaming Europe. It's a very good question. I mean, we have kind of internal names that we use. So the middle-aged militarian, the senior historian, the young gunner, and the social senior are our sort of 4 key segments. But basically, compared to like your normal, typical average gamer, we skew older, we skew more male, and we skew a lot more kind of scientific and engineering in terms of mindset. Our guys are kind of, you know, they're very hobbyist. They're into like, they watch a lot of Discovery and science and historical kind of stuff. And so it's a very different way of kind of dialoguing and reaching as opposed to sort of traditional gamers. And because they're that bit older and that bit more professional, they've got a little bit more money, which helps with the sort of monetization side as well. So yeah, we've got a very interesting, quite upmarket audience.
well, that's the beauty of our free-to-play mechanism, and the vision we have for our games is that we're free to win. You can achieve everything what you can achieve by spending money without spending money. It might just take a little bit longer if you don't spend any money on it. And some people who want to achieve certain things within the game faster, they can spend money. And I think that's a fair thing to do. If I want to drive fast on the Autobahn, I buy the fastest car I can afford. If I want to drive with 120 kilometers per hour, I do that.
Yeah, it's like, we obviously have to make money some way, yeah? So the main thing is that players can grind their way to the top using all the iconic tanks, you know, from World War II, the T-34, the Tiger, etc., without ever having to pay a cent, you know. And if you've got time and patience and skill, you can get there. Obviously, there are people that aren't quite as skilled, that don't have as much spare time, like me, and I want to buy in as quickly as I can. And so all the premium tanks, I mean, I've pretty much got every premium tank in the game. I've always got a premium garage, and quite often, because my aiming isn't particularly good, I'm switching to armor piercing. So I'm, you know, spending a lot of my own money on the company. But, you know, it's great because, you know, depending on which segment you're in, we appeal to both. And the tanks we use as premium tanks are kind of like either prototypes or tanks that never saw action, or, you know, just kind of experimental stuff. So we would never take an iconic tank like a Tiger and use it as a premium, because that just wouldn't be right. So again, it's just listening to your user base, debating internally, and making the right call consistently, and that's how you get there.
I have the best job in the world. I'm running a Wargaming office. Wargaming Berlin belongs to Wargaming Europe, and I'm responsible for communications in the eastern part of Europe, meaning in 8 countries. And it's a lot of work and it's a lot of fun. Yeah, Wargaming, as you already mentioned, has its 15th anniversary right now. Developed all the time military-orientated, strategic PC box titles like DBA Online, like the Massive Assault series, like the Order of War series. And in 2008 there was a Twitch, and the leaders of Wargaming sat together and decided that box titles, offline single-player titles, are definitely not the future. And so everything was, every resource was thrown on the new task, creating an MMO with all the stuff they knew about, they were addicted to, and this was tanks. And so World of Tanks went live first in Russia, in former Soviet Union, in October 2010, and then later in April 2011 in Europe and North America. And yeah, at the time when I joined the company, we were approximately 220 people, and we had 3.5 million registered users. And this is 2.5 years ago. And since then, you had the right numbers. We have more than 2,200 employees right now, 16 offices worldwide on 4 continents, and 75 million registered players, which is awesome. And in our new game, World of Warplanes, which will be released next week, in the beta were 4.5 million users. They flew more than 230 million flights in the game, destroyed 170 million planes, and all this stuff, destroyed 80 million ground targets. So incredible numbers. Yeah, and next week is going to be live, and we don't know, we don't have a clue how many people will jump in. We will see. And then the next things, World of Tanks Xbox 360 will come very, very soon. Then World of Tanks Blitz on iOS and Android, tablets and smartphones. World of Tanks Generals for the browser, and World of Warships for next year at this time approximately. And to be honest, we have several more not announced titles you will learn in the future. World of Tanks and World of Warplanes are competitive games. Online, live, player versus player. So it's totally set for esports. 2012 we started a little bit with 2011 we started actually with esports activities, taking part in the existing leagues like World Cyber Games, like ESL and likewise. And on October 2012 we had a grand final in Moscow for the Ural Steel tournament. And there in the famous ZSKA arena, we had a press conference and announced, okay, Wargaming is going to start its own league. And at this time we had approximately 12 esports people worldwide, globally. Now we have, I think, more than 50, 60, something like this. The World of the Wargaming.net league, our esports league, started this year already. And first grand finals will be next year in April in Warsaw. And the prize money for this is $2.5 million for the league. Yeah. And we think esports is something which matches perfectly with our titles and our games. So our future esports efforts will be stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
Okay, hello. My name is Oleg Gatanyan. I am general manager of Persia Studio and head of production. You're definitely right. It's very logical. If you have a tanks game, so if you want to create a set of games, like universe of games about World War II machines, so okay, what is the more widespread games? What is the more popular machines from World War II? Tanks, aircraft, and warships. So like everything else is not so popular. So very logical was to take aircraft, and that was the goal. From one perspective, it was make it pretty fast, dynamic, not like in World of Tanks, much more shooter game, much more dynamic game. And from another point, to make it much more similar, recognizable for players who play in World of Tanks. So when you run the game, you see user interface, lobby, carousel, machines, the same economical, the same upgrade system, the same approach, what you can do with your machines. But when you press the battle button, you just step into, okay, that's the same session MMO game, but absolutely another gameplay. So it's very fast, dynamic. You cannot stop, you cannot hide into the bushes, you cannot just play and drink some beer because you need to control everything in three-dimensional space, and it's much more adrenaline game, you know. So that's the idea. Yeah, we did a lot of stuff. We already did a lot of stuff, and we still plan to do a lot of stuff to avoid random accident, random collision, which are not on purpose, you know. But we don't want to prohibit collision on purpose. You know, because if you want to be kamikaze, it's not good to take it away from you. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we already did some stuff. If you play in the game at the beginning of open beta, did you play that
Yeah.
time? And right now, the number of random collision is going down. Probably you noticed that. So that's because we implemented some features to make it rarely happen. For example, one of these features was that at the start of the game, we respawn all aircraft just much wider from each other. So much less probability to hit your team aircraft. And we still have several more features in the pocket. So yeah, but if player want to be kamikaze, he or she will definitely.
Yeah, I know. I understand why, but it's just so frustrating when they do it.
Yeah, it frustrates me too. You know? We will have a lot of bonuses for players. For players who have more than 700 battles, we have a lot of bonuses for. If they play in the game from alpha stage, they will have one bonuses. If they have been into the game from closed beta stage, they get another bonuses. For open beta, another bonuses, and a lot of other stuff in the game, like aircraft. So this is our gift to players. So you play in our game during testing period of time. Thank you for your time. So you have that airplane, you have this emblem, you have and even for now, so all players have a chance to get a free tokens, free gold in World of Warplanes, and buy a free premium in both World of Tanks and World of Warplanes. So there are a lot of players who already have several months premium accounts or even more in in both games. So yeah, I believe it's a nice gift to the players, and nice thank you for them for taking the time and playing into the game for testing purposes.
Yeah.
You know, like next week our life just beginning. Next week we release the game, and there are tons of features and content which we want to put into the game. New game modes, new socialization features, new game mechanic features, new content, new maps, new aircrafts. For example, the next patch, next major version, which will be released after release. We will introduce new aircrafts and maps there. So a lot of stuff like this. We have plans like for the next all years, and we need more people to do all that stuff. And we really like our game, and we really like to make it more rich and more interesting. So life is just beginning, and let's battle and get airborne. You know?